I've been told that people seem to think that I love to hear myself talk. And it is very true. I do love to hear myself talk. They'll never get me to admit it, but I do. Let's get right into it. What do we got for us, Mr. Alex? Wait, actually, what is the channel name on this again? Alex Webb. All right. Let's see what Highguard, the 200 million disaster is.
In life, there is a few guarantees. Death, taxes, and each year a big budget game will completely bomb. I mean, within the last few years, we've had...
One thing that I always find really funny, and I actually have been putting a lot of thought into this, like I had kind of this epiphany while I was on vacation, is I'm no longer excited about games coming out, not because like I'm jaded as an adult, but because I've been trained to not enjoy. I've been trained to see in every game that's going to be coming out that it's going to be absolutely like poopy dog water. And that's like got nothing to do with like the individual. Well, I guess it's got a lot to do with the individuals that work on the game. Let's be honest here. But it's just like, I don't want to hate video games. I don't want to hate a new game coming out, but like, man, they really don't endear me in trying to get me to be hyped or enjoy a game.
Complete disasters like Concord shutting down within 2 weeks, Suicide Squad killed Justice League, absolutely destroying Rocksteady's reputation, and let's not forget about 2025's Mind's Eye, a game that was marketed...
Oh my god, that game was terrible. I don't know if anybody else watched it, but Penguin Zero, Charlie, I think he did an entire playthrough of it. I couldn't even watch half it. I was like, this is just such a bad game.
as a GTA killer, only for it to instead be a buggy mess made by one deranged Scottish man. It seems like for every Expedition 33, we get a game like The Day Before. These projects with a lot of hype behind them that ultimately end up being not worth the $50 price tag.
Well, The Day Before was a scam. It was kind of a little bit different because like that was just kind of a big ol' like scam. It really wasn't anything like a big AAA release like we're going to be talking about Highguard, where that game was most certainly not a scam. Like it had development weight behind it. It had a lot of money being put into it. It wasn't just an asset flip. And like the developers didn't cut and run. Like they are different.
Now, with that said, we yet again find ourselves in a very similar situation. However, this time, our story doesn't start with a big game company or a high-profile developer. Rather, this time we begin with just one man. One man named Geoff.
There he is.
Canada.
Geoff Keighley is never going to live this down. I don't think he'll ever live this down for the rest of the time that he's in the games industry. I don't think he deserves to live it down either. I think he kind of made his bed. Now he has to lie in it.
1978, a boy is born. That boy is Geoff. Geoff Keighley, to be more accurate, who grew up with two things: video games and the Oscars. See, Geoff's parents both worked at IMAX and were also both members at the Academy, meaning Geoff grew up seeing just how celebrated movies were, from the glamour of the red carpet to the freshly polished awards. But in seeing all of that, little Geoff had one persistent question. Why are there no awards for games? Shoving that question to the back of his mind, as Geoff grew up, he became more and more interested in video games.
Well, it's mostly because like
Firstly, using his family
they weren't seen as anything that was artistically elevated,
the first
right?
ever video game awards show broadcast on live TV. Now, considering the vast majority of people watching this video will probably have no idea what Cybermania
He really did just call me out with that.
even is, that tells you just how successful this show was.
You know what this is here?
But on the bright side, they did have William Shatner.
Hello, I'm William Shatner.
Despite the show being a bit of a failure though, it only made Geoff more determined to make an awards show on par with the Oscars, but you know, for video games. From this point, Geoff would graduate university.
Man, I remember pre-video game awards like life. It was so different back then.
With a business degree,
Jesus.
and used it to successfully pitch an idea to GameSpot,
My interest has peaked.
where Geoff would basically write deep dive articles on popular games like Metal Gear Solid 2. Pretty quickly, Geoff gained a bunch of new contacts for writing these articles, like somehow gaining open access to
I had like no idea about like this history. Like I you know, obviously I lived a lot of this in the sense that I was alive for this to be happening, or at least some of it, more probably towards the later bits of it. But I didn't know like how in depth this, I guess, ascension to the Game Awards was. Like, this is an interesting biographical.
and soon he was hired by Spike TV to host his very own show.
I remember Spike TV.
Jeff's career just kept on growing from here.
Oh my
throughout the
god, do
2000s
I
and early
remember Spike
2010s, If it
TV.
was something to do with gaming, you can bet that Jeff would be a part of it.
Watch, we're going to be talking about X-Play next, I bet.
From interviewing industry titans at E3, working with huge networks like MTV or the Discovery Channel, and even hosting video game launch specials
What did he do with the Discovery Channel? What?
for games like Madden NFL, and perhaps more notably, Halo 3. Although,
There's
in
G4
fairness,
TV, by
Jeff's
the way.
relationship with Halo might be a little awkward after he was involved in a pretty controversial interview. Not for anything he said, but instead for having a rather aggressive sponsorship. This led to Jeff being dubbed the Dorito Pope, by the way. Anyway, despite this cheesy Dorito stain on Jeff's resume, by 2014 he was a figurehead in the gaming industry, having
Jeez.
connections with major companies and making millions of dollars just talking about games.
So now I can kind of understand why he's just in this spot. Like, it's kind of funny, and I say this with as much respect as I can, because obviously he's been around in the industry a lot, and he has done a lot of good things for the gaming industry. But I can kind of see how he, and this is the word that I'm going to use, wormed, close quote, his way into the position that he is in.
However, despite all of the success, there was still something Jeff wanted to do, an idea he'd had since he was a kid, and now he knew it was time to make the video game Oscars. Now, prior to 2014, there was already a video game awards show that had been airing on Spike TV since 2003.
Yeah, it wasn't that
naturally
good,
dubbed the
was
Spike
it?
Video Game Awards. The show
Yeah,
itself had a
it was kind of, from what I recall, it was a little cheesy, and it really did rip off. Well, did it rip off the Oscars? Man, that's so long ago. I can barely remember. I think I might be conflating it with the VGAs. But I know they had like a lot of celebrities on there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Pamela Anderson fucking showed up for one of them. I'm not sure though.
lot more
That sounds like a
focus on
Spike
raunchy
TV thing to
humor
do.
and bringing in as many big celebrities as possible.
I was hoping you'd be impressed by my girth.
Some of which even hosting the show to varying results.
What the is wrong with you, man?
Unfortunately though, by 2013, the show was suffering from low viewership,
Yeah.
so Spike decided to rebrand it to VGX with a more intimate studio setting. And
I thought they moved over to G4 TV. I might be misremembering that because I know G4 TV. We got G4 TV a really long time into its into its tenure. We never really like had that cable package, so to speak. So when we upgraded to that cable package, because we had to have a special package for that, it kind of got a little. That's when it was starting to decline. Let's put it that way. Most of the award shows were like that, including the Nickelodeon one. Yeah, you're not wrong, because I remember the Kids' Choice Awards, and I remember all the other like Nickelodeon award shows pulling in but they obviously Nickelodeon wouldn't have called in Pamela Anderson. That'd be very off-brand for them. Although it would be funny in hindsight 10 years later, but yeah, because I think that would probably be the problem with the award show on Spike TV is they were leaning more into like, the haha, this is like a really quote of the time, manly close quote event of the time, and they weren't really doubling down on video games themselves being the star of the show. If I recall correctly, I think that was the reason why I never watched it. I was like, man, I just want to talk about video games. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was, a young boy and a teenager at one point in time, so I probably did enjoy most of the stuff that weren't video game related. But I wasn't watching it, if I ever watched it, for the video game related
to
content.
get that view count back up.
Plus, it was
which,
before like the
let's
white
just say didn't
mainstream
work.
adaptation of the internet.
Yes, I know the difference between
So,
Miss
like, a lot of
Pac-Man
these
and Ms.
shows
Pac-Man. One of them is his mom.
weren't,
I'm
like,
not sure which.
Yeah, that's not
proliferated
Seeing
on the
writing
internet.
the wall, Jeff, who'd been super involved with the previous shows, broke away from Spike and finally decided it was time to bring his vision to life.
Mm-hmm.
Completely self-funding the entire project himself, probably of all the money he made from that Dorito sponsorship.
That's pretty
Jeff
good.
Created,
He
produced, and
self-funded it. I'm pretty sure that if she was on that award show, it was the same year Stripperella debuted on Spike. I think you might be right. Honestly, that sounds kind of like That sounds like it kind of tracks. And also, that was like a one-season
Hosted
show?
his very
Who
own
remembers
independent
that?
award show in late 2014.
We are here to
Man.
present the award for Trending Gamer because, well, we're always scouring the internet for new trends. Isn't that right?
I'm in tremendous pain. I'm in tremendous
I don't
One that
blame
would go
them.
on to become globally recognized as the Game Awards. Obviously, from this point, the show would grow into what it is now, that being one of, if not the biggest event in the gaming calendar, a celebration of all the incredibly talented people who passionately work in the industry,
And it's become a living meme too.
and an occasion where people get unreasonably mad that their favourite game didn't win Game of the Year.
Baldur's Gate 3.
Anyway, by 2025, the Game Awards were not only seen as an extremely popular awards show that pulls in millions of live viewers, but also a huge platform that any studio could use to advertise their latest up-and-coming projects. The only thing is,
Yeah, I could see that. So it's like, obviously they can have a platform to advertise, but maybe I'm hoping that this is the direction that we're going, is like, should a lot of the companies actually advertise their stuff? Because most of it nobody cares about.
though, these ad slots aren't cheap. Just from a quick
You were
Google
not old
search,
enough to
it
be
seems like
watching
prices
that, but
vary
Stanley was
depending on
having
two
fun with
major
it.
factors.
Exactly.
The first being, if Geoff likes your game, he may allocate a spot to you for completely free. The other factor all comes down to how long your trailer is,
Mm-hmm.
with a 60-second spot reportedly coming in at a modest $450.
Million. Oh,
And
thousand,
if you
okay.
need a slightly longer slot, let's say 3 minutes, well,
I meant to say thousand. I accidentally started saying million. I'm sorry. I'm still like kind of cooked. I'm still on vacation brain right now.
that will cost you
You're gonna
$1 million,
get some slips every now and
roughly
again.
about $5,000 per second. Despite these steep prices, studios were absolutely willing to pay Geoff all of this money just to be featured.
Makes
with
complete
arguably
sense,
the
though.
biggest spot on the entire show being the final one
Intergalactic. Hang on, we're gonna go back.
just to be featured, with arguably
This. I'm not saying that I am anticipating or excited. Rather, I'm not excited for a game to fail, because I'm never excited for a game to fail. However, I'm pretty sure it's gonna fail.
the biggest spot on the entire show,
And it's gonna
being
be better for the
final
gaming
one just
industry.
before the Game of the Year is awarded. I mean, in previous years, this spot was reserved for huge announcements like Naughty Dog's brand new sci-fi IP, Monster Hunter Wilds, Final
Mm-hmm.
Fantasy, and even, Keanu Reeves?
Motion capture, baby.
Okay, admittedly, this spot doesn't always go to the best project. I mean, just look at 2019's Fast and Furious game.
Oh,
but at the
Jesus.
very least, it's always something notable.
If I eat ice cream on the left side of my mouth, my
Right. So I think, yeah, we're going to start talking about like the last advertisement slot. I definitely think that Highguard probably would not have been received nearly as poorly if it had not gotten the last advertiser slot. Like the fact that it was the headline quote of the entire night, I think that really pissed a lot of people off, because it's just the collective groan that you could feel from everybody is just, it was massive. Hi, was your trip good? It was in fact amazing. My trip was amazing. I've been thinking about posting some of the pictures that I've taken. Obviously, none of the ones that are like super that has anybody in it, but like just general scenery and stuff like that into the Discord. But I don't know if anybody's like really on fire for that. I don't know if I should or not. I'm just like debating, because like, I want to share that with everybody, because I think it'd be really awesome, because I had some amazing views. But at the same time, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's right. I'm in uncharted waters. But it was great. I had a great time. I hope you had a great 4th. I know we're kind of running around with our fingers in the air going scoreboard to all our Euro friends over there. Or sorry, all our UK friends over there. But it is what it is. It is what it is. I hope you had a great 4th.
So with that in mind, when the 2025 Game Awards came along, people were intrigued, especially because before the show, Geoff tweeted this out, with the cryptic message actually being coordinates that led to, well, this fucking thing in the middle of the desert.
And that was for the next Larian Studios game, right? If I recall correctly. I don't remember that too horribly well. But what I do remember from that is everybody was just like, oh, okay. Like, I don't remember that much hype.
Speculation on what the statue
Unfortunately.
was teasing ran wild as people were
Here,
throwing
I'm down
out
to have a
all
look.
kinds
I'll
of
definitely
names,
post
like
the pictures of my
Diablo
Greece trip
4,
next
a
week.
New God of
Whoa,
War.
hold on. We got a Greece trip next week? Hell yeah. I've always wanted to go to Greece. You gotta get some real nice pictures of some of the old artifacts there. That's gonna be super exciting. Hell yeah.
Elder Scrolls 6, and some people even said
Bloodborne 2? Guys, it's the meme!
It's been like 11 years, man. Just let it go.
Never. I'm never going to let Bloodborne go. Bloodborne is always going to come back. It's one of those things where you will never hear the end of it from anybody who's ever played Bloodborne. By the way, we're going to play through that this October. If I can even wait till October. I've been thinking about busting it out and playing it because I've been getting a lot of content from Bloodborne. If I can figure out how to do that, if I can figure out how to stream, I can figure out how to get my PlayStation on the stupid stream. God damn it.
Than any of these theories, though, what the statue was actually teasing was the reveal of a new Divinity game, which is being developed by
The old
Larian
blood never
Studios,
truly dies.
the same studio
Exactly.
that made previous game of the year, Baldur's which is being developed by
Hang on.
Larian Studios,
Armor
the
sighted.
same studio
All right. Yeah, I'd wear something like
that
that.
made previous game of the year, Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, this was a pretty big reveal that had a lot of hype behind it, even if the trailer was a little hard to watch.
All that. Okay, listen. I'm still kind of cooked on vacation brain. I wanted to say like, I wanted to say ancient stuff and stuff like that, dude. I can't even think right now. I can't even think straight. I'm just coming back into it. You gotta give me a break. You know what I meant.
But interestingly enough, this wasn't the final reveal at that year's Game Awards. Instead, on the same show that had this reveal, a new Star Wars game, a modern remake of Tomb Raider, and rumours of the fabled Half-Life 3.
That's another one, Half-Life 3. That's a big cope. Just like Bloodborne 2, we can cope together.
Geoff took to the stage one final time to announce a brand new IP, made by the same people who made both Titanfall and Apex Legends, a complete industry secret that was deep into development, and Geoff had even played it.
I've played it, and after you see this trailer, I think you're gonna want to as well.
Geoff, please come back online and say, like, I want you to react to this entire thing.
Can't handle the suspense. Please show me the game.
Welcome to Highguard.
It's just the British ancestors awakening. It's okay.
Geoff, what the fuck is this?
I tried.
Once people
Okay.
get their eyes
Oh, he must have uploaded it and it must have had copyright music in it.
in the gameplay,
Speaking of, I know that the people on the Discord are aware of this, but for people who are not on the Discord, my 4th of July stream actually didn't just get copyright claimed, it got blocked. And it was the JFK portions of it that were blocked, which I am pretty sure it is not legal for them to copyright claim or copyright what is already publicly accessible, public domain footage of the president, because it was footage of the president during his federal duties. And I'm pretty sure that the JFK library, in addition to it being public domain, owns the rights to it, which they would not copyright claim you on. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, are you really sure that I couldn't do anything? I was on vacation, so I just had it cut out. But it's one of those things where it's just like, damn, are we real right now?
Highguard just looked, well, as for the studio behind Highguard,
Bro, Highguard didn't look mid, it actually actively looked awful.
Wildlight Entertainment was an independent studio founded in 2022 by, as Geoff said, veteran developers who had worked on some pretty big games like Apex Legends, Call of Duty, and the insanely underrated Titanfall 2.
And by the way, if nobody here, because I know that, what is it? I know that when it came out, I was able to play it when it came out. I know it got remastered, and I don't know if I really have the type of community that would play a game like it, but if you haven't played Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, and to a degree Modern Warfare 3 since it wraps up the trilogy, but Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 stories are actually really good. Surprisingly good for what they are. I can't recommend them enough because they are actually just good.
Having offices in both LA and Seattle, Wildlight Entertainment made it very clear from early on that they had one big
Surprisingly
goal,
enough.
that being to create, in their words, an epic shooter IP. And based on some of the replies at the time, people were pretty optimistic. I mean, Apex in particular is one of the biggest battle royale games ever made, hitting over 25 million players when it released, and still maintaining a player count of over 100,000 to this very day, with its success only being eclipsed by, well, you know. Unfortunately for Wildlight though, as we fast forward to the 2025 Game Awards,
just because you have the developers that have worked on good games doesn't immediately qualify your game to be a good game. I think like the worst part about it is a lot of people conflated, or rather, I think maybe they used it as a marketing technique is probably a better way of approaching it, that they had developers from these already previously good games so they could borrow upon our preconceived notions that because they have talent from these good games, it's also going to be a good game, which is why I think a lot of people were also a little bit more hostile towards it because it was sold as a game made by good developers, but that might not have necessarily been the case. We don't know who actually, well, we do probably know who worked on it, but I don't know if anybody's ever gone in there and said like, this person did this on Call of Duty and they did this on this. Might have it, but that would take a lot of research.
That optimism have been replaced by, people calling the new game the next Concord. Honestly, I think the way Geoff talked about Highguard before it's
You're right, it's the second part of the Trilogia Concordia according to a particular Cockroach King. So we need Marathon to finally go end of service in order to complete the Trilogia Concordia, and I have high hopes for that. Not because I, again, want to see a game fail, but because if these games do fail, and catastrophically so, the gaming hobby and the gaming, like overall gaming sphere will be better for it. And that's why I hold out hope for it.
reveal was the real issue here. My man basically made out to be this industry-changing title that would revolutionize the shooter genre, only for the gameplay to look like someone had generated it through ChatGPT. The gameplay looked uninspired, the character designs were pretty bland,
They were really safe.
nothing was shown besides people shooting things, and worst of all, the trailer made it incredibly unclear as to what kind of game Highguard even was.
I could
People
see
were
that
obviously
too.
confused, and considering Highguard looked like another shooter in an already overcrowded market.
So I do have a little bit of a contrasting opinion on this, right? I definitely think that arena shooters or any type of shooter, whatever Highguard's doing, I think that on paper and in concept, probably could have worked if they trimmed down some of the more not ambitious elements, some of the more generic, there you go, some of the more generic elements of it. If they doubled down on it being an incredibly, like, I would say niche experience, something that's a little bit less broad in appeal, and doubled down on what made Highguard unique in the sense that they wanted to create like a systematic, multivariate, objective-based shooter that would change depending on certain like engagements and what's happening throughout the match. I think it could have been better because right now shooters, as far as I'm aware, are kind of either dominated by the hero shooter genre or like the Counter-Strike like type of games or the extraction shooters, but we're not really talking about extraction shooters because they function a little bit differently. But the objectives from each game are kind of similar in the sense that you've played one domination map, you've played all domination maps. Where what they're trying to do is they were trying to make kind of a hybridized variant of like domination, capture the flag, and a bunch of other objectives mixed into one match. And I could see that working really well, but they bloated it with all this shit that nobody really wanted. Like, nobody wants hero shooters anymore. You didn't need to have the hero element to it. Nobody really wanted to play like the wide open map that has nothing in it. Nobody really wanted to do the mining, resource management minigame. Just like there's so many different things that you didn't really need to put in there. And if you just doubled down on like the core gameplay elements, probably could have made a unique game. And a game that people wanted to play.
Wasn't ideal. Anyway, with this sudden influx of attention, Wildlight would tweet out thanking Big Geoff and also reaffirming the release date of January 26, 2026, which at the time was less than 2 months away, meaning
There's a free game nobody played.
they'd really need to start pumping out information
That's
on the
a big
game
ouch.
to get rid of those Conquer comparisons. So let's just give them like a week to see what they come out with.
1 week later.
Nothing.
Okay, maybe they need another week.
2 weeks later.
Surely
Nothing.
they should have something out any day now.
4 to 6 weeks later.
Nothing.
For reasons that'll become
To be fair, that was probably the right call though. Like they were already facing backlash from not the industry, from the consumer base, like already. They should have just shut up and said nothing. Like this was the correct thing. Like any engagement that you were going to have from that was going to cause more problems for your product down the line. And I think that if people are going, like, obviously they're kind of in a catch-22 if you really sit down and think about it, because if they said anything, they're going to be in trouble. If they don't say anything, people are going to criticize them for not saying anything. And for whatever it is, I think it is a unanimous W, because for them to not say anything, like, that was the correct call. And any type of criticism that's coming towards it is just, I would say, looking for a reason to criticize them, which maybe is justifiable or maybe not, but it was the right direction for them to go.
Become obvious later in the video, after the Game Awards, rather than promoting their brand new game, Wildlight Entertainment instead just disappeared entirely.
Good.
No updates, no trailers,
Good.
no interviews,
Good.
not even so much as a tweet, as Highguard's Twitter went completely radio silent,
Yep.
even with that release date getting progressively closer and closer. This quickly became one of the strangest mysteries within the gaming industry. Like, again, Highguard was
I mean, we can kind of go back to the past, the show studio that also did that too and did the right thing and made their game a whole lot better. Not that, Highguard's ever going to get a chance to do that, and I don't think they deserve the chance, but it's neither here nor there. No Man's Sky. After their disastrous launch, what did they do? They shut down. They went radio black for like the longest time. And I think that's the right thing to do, so you can just sit down and focus on what you're doing, minimize the noise. Good call.
given the premiere spot at the Game Awards, promoted as the next big online shooter, and since then, nobody had heard from them. This lack of, well, anything, only fueled speculation as to what the fuck was going on.
It's been a while.
Did they run out of money? Does this game even exist? Was this all a prank by Geoff?
Among Us.
The only thing
I mean,
this
it was.
rampant speculation did do, though,
Geoff really did prank us, by the way.
was just reaffirm people's beliefs that Highguard was in fact Concord 2. On that note, while everyone was searching for Wildlight, there was still one person actually advertising the game. That being Geoff Keighley,
Was
who
he
tweeted out
really?
promoting
Oh,
Highguard's
no.
launch, which by this point was
Oh,
only
I
4
do
days
remember
away.
that. Oh no, Geoff, please. He's like the Grim Reaper of games. Please stop.
Prompting everyone to ask Geoff,
Jeff, I want you
what the
to
fuck is
be,
going
I want
on?
you to have
It
the
means
same
by now
opinion
we're out
as
of
the
control.
general gaming
Articles were coming
public.
up daily, and everyone was asking the same question. Where is Highguard? Then, with just 3 days before launch, Highguard returned. Now, Marketing 101 usually suggests that you advertise your product first before it comes out, to build up interest.
True.
But Wildlight were clearly going with a bold new strategy of releasing a full Highguard showcase.
I don't know if he's going to talk about this, but they had a lot of success from their previous project, which was Apex Legends, where they just shadow dropped Apex Legends. And a lot of games have been kind of following suit with a lot of shadow drops in general. And I'm not entirely sold on that marketing strategy. I'm not sold on it, because it does make a lot of hype just immediately and you can just go off and play it, which is like kind of cool, kind of maybe not so cool. I'm not sure. But definitely traditional marketing would say, like, they'd be freaking, like a traditional like marketer would be looking at this and they're just like, what are you doing?
On the same day it launches. I should also mention that this launch wasn't a beta or early access.
Nope, it was full
the
game.
full and final game. So at the very least, you can't say that Wildlight wasn't confident in Highguard. Like, they were certain this was going to blow everyone away. You know who else was confident? Fucking Geoff, who just wouldn't stop tweeting about Highguard.
Poor
Whether that
Geoff.
be GIFs or poorly aged Polygon articles like this one saying Highguard isn't dead on arrival. His most infamous tweet though was definitely this one using a Jurassic Park GIF,
Just take his thumbs away.
which said,
Just
"In
take his
48
thumbs
hours,
away."
I'll be accepting your apologies." People were pretty quick to point out the context of this GIF, and that this led to, people being eaten by dinosaurs.
So what are hemorrhoids and how do you get rid of them?
At this stage, Geoff was doing so much advertising for the
Honestly,
game.
Geoff
that
should
people
come out
started
and
suspect
apologize
that he
to
had
us.
some sort of financial investment. A claim that Geoff would completely deny. I mean, he wasn't getting paid to hype up Highguard, he was simply doing it because he liked the game. He liked it so much, in fact.
Like, I'm going to be completely honest and I'm going to be completely fair. You can like whatever you want. I get it. People can like whatever they want. And you shouldn't feel ashamed for liking something. If somebody's telling you that you shouldn't like it, like, who cares? You should like whatever you want. And Geoff is free to like whatever he wants to. The problem is you must also recognize that there's going to be a lot of people who don't like it. And in general, when a lot of people are telling you that they don't like it and they don't want it, you shouldn't be trying to tell them that they're going to like it because they've already made up their minds. Just say, oh yeah, well, you might not like it. Well, I do. There you go. Not, you're going to be apologizing to me because now you've thrown the gauntlet down.
That he didn't even need to pay for that reveal at the Game Awards. Yeah, remember how I mentioned earlier that if Geoff likes a project enough, he can't just offer them a spot on the Game Awards for completely free.
Yeah.
Well, that was foreshadowing, because it seems like this is exactly what happened with Highguard.
There it
a
is.
decision that, in retrospect, probably had dire consequences. See, Wildlight's original plan for Highguard was to actually shadow drop it, which makes sense considering that Apex Legends also shadow dropped back in 2019 to great success. Now, would this plan have worked in 2026 when everyone is sick to death of these kinds of games? Probably not, but that didn't matter because suddenly
I think that might be probably missing the forest for the trees. I think if the game is good and everybody wanted to play the game and everybody did play the game, I don't think it matters what marketing strategy you employ. I think the best marketing strategy that you could ever have is just to have a good game. I know that's revolutionary and that's kind of like gaspy gads, but you know, who am I to say anything about the gaming industry?
Here's Big Geoff offering you a spot at the biggest gaming event of the year for, again, completely free. I guess this could explain the lack of any kind of marketing, because I suppose Wildlight weren't going to need any trailers if the game was just going to shadow drop. But then, when the 26th of January finally rolled around, Wildlight didn't just upload that promised showcase video, they instead uploaded 39 additional videos.
No.
All of which have since been deleted, so you'll have to take my word on it. Anyway, despite one of the most bizarre...
They didn't even just nuke the game, they nuked the channel too.
...or marketing strategies
Shut it
I
down!
have ever seen, this somehow worked in Highguard's favour, as by this point, everyone wanted to play the game out of sheer curiosity.
Actually, hold on.
Which resulted...
Is that stuff lost media now? Like, is Highguard actually considered, like, have lost media now ascribed to it? Literally, like, modern day lost media?
in Highguard launching to a player count of close to 100,000. In what could have been the biggest IQ play of the decade, Wildlight had amassed an insane player count by barely promoting their own game, and all they needed to do was sit back and wait for everyone to start buying these gorgeous skins. However, even with all of this, upon actually installing the game, it didn't take long for people to realise that if you can look past all the memes, controversy, and Geoff tweets, Highguard was simply mid. Basically, Highguard feels like Wildlight just took elements from other successful live service shooters.
I remember watching a bunch of Highguard reviews at the time because, you know, obviously I have my own opinions, but I do like to see what other people's opinions are in general, or maybe even in part, mostly in part if I just don't have the time or the depth to care about something. But I'll go out and seek an alternative opinion. And I remember very specifically Doki Bird trying to say that it was like a mid game in the most polite way that she could. She was like, oh, it could be so much better with this, that, and the other thing. And I had some fun playing it and it's got positive things. But if you could translate that in just like a small roundabout way, it was, man, this game is mid as fuck.
Decided to just throw them into this game and hope for the best, resulting in Highguard being a 3v3 raid shooter with resource gathering, battle royale loot crates, paladin mechanics, COD style gunplay, and one shop ran by a British man.
You know, if I ever see you on the streets, I'm gonna smash your head in, you know that?
Seriously, by now I've seen.
Also, I heard that or not heard, but the what's it called? The 3v3 style was definitely an unforced error. Like, guys, you should have just made it 5v5 to start off with. What were you thinking?
So many different videos on Highguard, and it seems like no one really knows what kind of shooter this game is even
I know what they were
trying to
thinking.
be.
They were thinking
Although
with the metrics that they collected.
Is that none of it works well
and
together.
The metrics
From
were
what
wrong.
I can see, an average game in Highguard consisted of you waiting about half an hour to join a match, then once you finally find enough players, you spend time fortifying your base, and then you run around a map that is way too big to only accommodate 6 people. So instead of actually shooting anything, you just end up mining these crystals.
I have a diamond pick, mining all I know.
The game was just so weirdly tedious, and without something like AI enemies to shoot, it very quickly became an incredibly boring
like, what are you doing here?
Meaning most people just uninstalled it and went back to scrolling through TikTok. That's not really a joke either, because combine this monotonous gameplay with Highguard being very poorly optimized, something an open beta probably could have fixed.
I think that's the other thing too, is the optimization definitely didn't help it, but I hate the fact that I'm going to say this, but every game comes out unoptimized. Now, I hate it because every game shouldn't come out unoptimized. They should come out in a way that's at least playable for the majority of people. But I don't think the optimization is what really killed it. Definitely, it was a force multiplier on people not liking it. It was one of those things where, okay, the game already is not that great. It's mid, and now I can't play it because my machine doesn't want to play it anyway. Okay, now it becomes even worse and multiplicatively so because of it.
Having way too many different mechanics for its own good, and characters that are about as generic as a slice of toast, by the time Wildlight woke up on day 2 and checked that player count, it had dropped by 60%.
Awful.
This sharp decline was then followed by the reviews coming in, which were, let's just say a mixed bag.
The game is just...
Thoughts on Highguard so far? Oh, Geoff.
Geoff, please.
Sweet boy. By the 28th, Highguard's player count had dropped to just 19,000.
Oh my god, I saw a video on the guns of Highguard and how they're like, how they actually like function and stuff. Oh my god, they must have been designed by, how do I put this politely? They must have been designed by somebody who dislikes the concept of guns.
And it had firmly been labelled as a painfully average game, which, yes, can offer some great moments, but ultimately not enough to
They
keep
really
players
lost me at
interested.
the
Don't worry about all
revolver
of this
with
stuff, though,
12
because
shots and a
Wildlight
6-shot
had a plan.
cylinder.
See, on launch day, they released their Year 1 roadmap for Highguard, showing that the next big update would be coming out in February, featuring a new map, character, and game mode. This roadmap was Wildlight's way to guarantee that players would keep coming back for more content, ensuring that Highguard would, at the very least, maintain a steadily growing player base throughout 2020.
The worst part about it is they released this thinking that they had hit the floor of the amount of players that they had. Little did they know the floor could go lower.
26. So when episode 2 dropped, so did the player count. 2 weeks in, and that player count was getting smaller and smaller. But on the bright side, while Highguard was on life support, it had officially lasted longer than Concord.
Hey,
congrats.
achievements.
Although apparently none of this mattered
you know?
to Wildlight studio head Chad Grainer, who said he cares more about Highguard being loved rather than having a huge player count.
Man, dude, listen. I understand that totally. I get that mentality. That's a great mentality to have. However, you need to have people play it when you have literally multiple hundreds of millions of dollars invested into your project. And it's not because, you know, you want to be greedy, because you want money, and it's also not because you don't love it and you're just doing it as a job. You can do both. It's because if you don't have people show up, you're never going to be able to make something that you love again.
I'm sure this is going to age well. Even with this insane amount of cope, you could tell that Wildlight was going through a bit of a tough time. Mainly for a few reasons, those being that Highguard's website was now down, they were basically throwing out free skins, and you know, they fired most of their staff. On the 12th of February,
they got
little over
nuked.
a week since their CEO said this, Wildlight Entertainment announced they had laid off the vast majority of their staff, which basically confirmed to a lot of people that it was only a matter of time before Highguard.
Just remember, everybody, they just laid off a bunch of Bungie staff, the people who were working on Marathon. We still live in a world where it's possible that Marathon gets shut down.
This news, along with everything else that had happened, turned any discussion around Highguard into a complete mess. People within the games industry start criticizing gamers for the overtly negative reaction, while gamers defend themselves,
let's
saying
blame
that
the
Highguard
gamers.
was, you know, good.
Hell yeah.
This wouldn't be happening right now. One former Wildlight dev even spoke out in a very long Twitter post, casting the majority of the blame for Highguard's less than favorable reputation onto content creators. Claiming that
it's the gamers' fault. It's the people who, you know, play the game who are at fault for telling everybody that they don't like the game. Wow. That bold strategy.
Creators were biased because negative leaning content gets more views. Now, on one hand, he isn't wrong, and there's definitely a ton of grifters looking for the next thing to get mad at.
Wait.
He isn't wrong, and there's definitely a ton of grifters.
The Roach King himself. It's Voldemort.
Looking for the next thing to get mad at. But on the other hand, what did you expect when you barely advertised a game that nobody wanted in the first place? Like, the team clearly thought they had something special with Highguard,
what a legendary
so it must
picture.
suck to see the negative reception the game got from the moment it was announced, but you didn't do anything to change that perception. Instead, what you did do was go into hiding for months while the game turned into an even bigger meme. This dev also went on to cast further blame onto people who had bought Highguard, stating that all products are at the whim of the consumers, and the consumers put an absurd amount of effort into slandering Highguard.
The consumers put an absurd amount of effort into slandering your game. Translation, the consumers didn't like the product that they bought.
Surprisingly, this statement didn't go down particularly well, and the post was quickly deleted along with the dev's entire account. By this point, any discussion around the game was an absolute dumpster fire. Everyone was screaming at each other while the game continued to stay on life support, and during all of this turmoil, the final bomb dropped. As it was revealed that Wildlight Entertainment had secretly been receiving funding
from Tencent?
Oh
no!
Throughout all of this, Wildlight maintained one thing, that they were a fully funded,
indie studio.
It was something Geoff even highlighted in that
Certainly.
initial reveal.
The power of independent, self-published studios to push this medium forward is a growing and I think positive theme.
I'm gonna be completely honest about this. I don't give a shit about any of this. Like, I care that Tencent is funding the game and it was undisclosed because I have my issues with Tencent itself, but in them saying that they're an indie studio and they're kind of taking stolen valor quotes from independent studios, it doesn't really bother me. Mostly because, like, I usually approach indie games with a thumb test, where it's like, if it looks and it feels like an indie game, it's an indie game, and if it looks and it feels like a AAA game, it's a AAA game. Now, that doesn't work all the time, but I mean, this game to me never felt like an indie game. No matter what you told me, I was never going to believe that it was an indie game anyway, because of just how grandiose the presentation of it was.
But what they'd never done was disclose where they had gotten that funding from, until it was revealed that Wildlight had been funded by Timmy, a subsidiary of one of the biggest gaming corporations in the entire world,
Tencent.
Who basically own like every single successful mobile game and League of Legends. Now, while bigger companies
I just got flashbanged by League.
isn't unusual, like Tencent has their fingers in multiple.
Man, I got flashbanged by League and everything just kind of like came back to me. I'm sitting here in my chair going as all of my League memories are coming back.
What is
Save
unusual
me.
is that Wildlight seemed to hide this fact as much as possible. Sure, they said they were funded, but they never said where or who gave them that money. Instead, they made themselves out to be this independent success story, similar to games like Expedition 33 and Dispatch. But in reality, they'd been receiving funding from a $1 billion company since 2023, who some people estimate invested over $200 million into Highguard's development. This connection also caused conspiracy theories to go round that Geoff had actually been commanded by Tencent to promote Highguard. The evidence? The show's advisory board, featuring Tencent's SV.
Now, this is a more important thing, I think, because it does show that, like, there is a connection, or at least from what I can recall, a connection between Tencent and the actual show's running itself. So I could definitely see that being an issue, at least a conflict of interest. Not that anybody's going to care about it, but
Geoff had obviously been paid off,
which they should.
Or, you know, Geoff just really liked the game and made a dumb decision. Anyway, Tencent was clearly wanting Wildlight to deliver a
and we'll probably
game
never
that
know.
would earn them even more money. And for that exact reason, they pulled their funding after seeing the game's abysmal player
Yeah, I
counts.
wonder why.
Here, the fate of both Highguard and Wildlight was all but confirmed. They had lost their investors, fired most of their staff, their reputation was in the mud, and only a month after launching, Highguard's player count had gone from 100,000 to just 600.
Yup.
So it came as no surprise when on March 3rd, the Highguard Twitter account announced that on the 12th of March, only 45 days after
Shut
it
it
launched,
down.
Highguard was finally getting put out of its misery. As of now, it's been a few months since Highguard shut down, and it seems like Wildlight has, unfortunately,
And they have passed like a fart in the wind. Actually, they've made more of an impact because now people are comparing things to Highguard in the good way.
closed their doors too, as there's been no updates on any of their social media, and they even recently deleted all of the videos on their Highguard YouTube channel.
Man.
Which made this video even harder to edit. As for Geoff, upon this news breaking,
Is there Is their YouTube channel still up? Let me see for a second here. Hold. Highguard. I spelled that so wrong. IGN, Highguard channel. So you know it'd be at Highguard, right? At Wildlight. At Wildlight Entertainment. I don't think that their channel's still up. Oh, nope. There it is. There we are. They're still up. They still have a channel. As of 7/7/2026, they still have a channel. Let me real quickly get the boom.
One was quick to check in on him and make sure he was doing alright after suffering such a devastating loss.
Yeah, you gotta
And
check
by
on
that
Geoff.
I mean he was heavily clowned on. The thing is, while this whole situation is kind of funny, I don't think anyone actually wanted Highguard to be this much of a disaster. I just think while
I think you're right. I think that you are completely right when you say nobody wanted Highguard to be this much of a disaster. 100%. However, I also think in the same breath, everybody would take 10 Highguards right now if it meant in the near to short-term future, we no longer have to deal with any Highguards for the next decade. I think that is totally what everybody would say.
Light was thrusted into a spotlight they absolutely weren't ready for, with a game that ultimately nobody wanted to play, especially after Concord. Regardless of all the controversy, at the very least, Highguard had a team of passionate devs behind it who had worked on the game for years, only to see it die within like 2 months. So I hope they can all land on their feet after
That's
this.
how it
Now I know
goes.
I've given Geoff Keighley a bit of
I do not hope that every one of those developers can land on their feet. I hope that the people who are responsible for what happened with Highguard do not land in the industry again. We do not want your games. I don't care if that sounds callous. I'm going to be callous about this because this is my hobby. This is my passion in life. This is what I love about my existence is video games. Don't work in the industry again, please. I'm begging you.
time throughout this entire
the
video.
ones who screwed up the
When it
game.
comes to video games, I legitimately don't think there's anyone who cares more about the video game industry than Geoff. I mean, he spent his entire career giving games a platform to be showcased on, and sure, that might not always go well, but without him, video games absolutely would not be taken even half as seriously as
I think the other problem with Geoff is that he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of the games industry. Yeah, he's done a lot for games, and maybe he does have a very big passion for video games, which is great. I don't think that he's tuned into the actual id of the gaming public. Because if he were, he would have known that Highguard would have never succeeded. Just blatantly on its face. It was plain to see that people don't want this game. And I'm sorry if this also sounds harsh, but Geoff, you need to wake the fuck up. People do not want these games, and your opinion is in the minority, not the majority. Which is okay as long as you can admit it. If you can't admit it, then stop presenting. It's time to pass the torch.
They are today. Plus, I think he's learned his lesson from this whole thing. Anyway, with all of that
Good.
being
I
said,
hope he does. I hope he
Highguard
has.
firmly in the past, I'm looking forward to seeing what this year's Game Awards will have in store for us. Oh.
Concord 3!
Oh my.
What a nice, insightful video. Huge video. I don't know why this keeps minimizing. I definitely think that there's a lot of problems with Highguard, or whether we're a lot of problems with him talking about it in the present tense. I should be talking about it in the past tense. I think that, again, definitely it was a big error in judgment on Geoff's part, but I don't think it was an error in judgment in the same sense that he made the choice willingly. I think he just doesn't understand that people don't agree with him anymore. And for a long time, people haven't agreed with him, at least the regular gaming public. And I think he needs to come out of his bubble and actually talk to real gamers and participate with real gamers. because we don't want these games anymore. We're not going to enjoy it. And if he legitimately thought that people wanted to play the game, man, you're kind of tattling on yourself with that, at least in my opinion.